Thanks, listeners, for joining us. It is time for Elko Live on a beautiful Tuesday, and welcome to the month of October. It's the day we set aside to get caught up on Elko City news and issues, and we are in between city council meetings. Elko City Councilwoman and Vice Mayor Mandy Simons joins us in studio. And Mandy, you run a tight ship. That meeting last week was over almost before it started.
Well, we had a very small agenda, so that certainly helps. And sometimes agendas are big and sometimes they're just not. So we had not a huge agenda, so not much to report, but a few things happened. And
yeah, we might as well get started on that. We appreciate your time and being here today, and again letting us know among the issues that we are following for the community is an update on the Shady Pines Mobile Home Park, and things are looking better. It is a slow process, but it took decades to get it that way. So.
Yeah, exactly. And so they've had their attorney has been working with this company and kind of has laid out, okay, by this date we want to have this, and this date we want to have this done. It's been this great kind of list of goals, and they've just been checking things off. They really worked hard. So, but it is a process, because first they had to have the hearings to evict certain folks, and then you can remove these damaged, horrible trailers, and then you can clean up the property. And so it is taking a while, but we did have some residents come in and talk about how they had been seeing progress. So that's nice. And that's all we're asking. We didn't think it would be done overnight. As long as they are continually making progress and moving towards those goals. They've gotten a lot of the sewer problems, kind of this pooling water. They've gotten I think all of that taken care of, or they are kind of on the cusp of it. They still need to work with NV Energy to get some of that stuff done. But yeah, definite progress. The company has been very responsive. I've got to say, it's honestly kind of been night and day from the Elko Inn. They've really kind of said, this is what we're going to do, and this is our timeline, and then they've stuck to it. And we've prodded and poked and worried a little bit, but for the most part, they've kept themselves moving. They've definitely taken this seriously. From all reports, I have not met this lady yet, but from all reports, they have a really wonderful manager now down there who seems to care immensely. And so I think that makes all the difference, having somebody on the property who truly cares what happens. So we're grateful for that. But yeah, if that's in your neighborhood, hopefully you've noticed that things are happening and it will get better. And again, we don't require any business or any property to be the nicest in the nation. We're not asking for over-the-top standards, but it was bad. It had gotten to a very sad and sorry state. I think that there was changing of hands as far as ownership goes, so that probably had something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know all the reasons it got to where it is, but it is getting better. So we are thrilled with that. Yeah,
there were a lot of health and sanitation violations, obviously, and that's what brought it to the city's attention. I know we've talked about this a little bit on the air because, Mandy, the city has certain codes. There is code enforcement, but it really does have to get to a certain point. Property owners are given a lot of leeway in how they manage their properties.
Sure, because we live in a place, Elko, as a community, and the leadership that they've had here for a long time, we believe that that's your property. And to a large extent, you make some choices. Obviously, none of us would want the city to come in and micromanage our own affairs. And we try not to do that. I'm sure there are some people who disagree, that think we get in their business way too much. But large in part, it is your property, and we want to respect that. But there are lines that are crossed. And so we do try to give everybody leeway and not be too nitpicky, but then it does occasionally get taken too far. So I'm sure there's people out there that think, oh no, we should be stricter, and some people that think, oh no, it should be a free-for-all. But we kind of tried to straddle this line between it's yours, but
when there's open sewage.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what we've been trying to do, and it's been so far very successful. And obviously, we're hoping things get done before the ground freezes and there's snow everywhere, and because that would make things much, much tougher. Yeah. So we're just hoping that everything goes their way, because they are certainly trying.
Working on that very hard. So those evictions, as you talked about, of people that shouldn't be there, those are underway. The code enforcement, the sanitary conditions, that's all being taken care of. And that does bring us to, I don't know if there's been an update on Elko Inn. It's kind of it's not abandoned or derelict, and I don't know if it's still a nuisance property.
Well, I think that legal is going through some things with that. So we have not had an update recently. But yeah, not, and I guess that at this point we haven't had, we still have some problems, some criminal activity, but it has gotten somewhat better. And so right now, legal as well as code enforcement and the development office, they're all kind of working on that behind the scenes, and when anything changes, they will come and let us know.
All right, that sounds good, because that's why those complaints, you need to keep registering complaints. If you are a nearby property owner or a neighbor, you do need to call the police and report these, because that's how things happen. They can compile reports. The city needs to know, but there's an official process.
Yeah. If one property, if we get a call about one property once saying, somebody was stealing stuff, or I think they were dealing drugs or whatever, versus you have 200 complaints at a property, that tells the police how much they need to be watching that property. It gives them an idea of what's going on. So I think it's frustrating for people, because there have been laws recently passed that make it very hard for us to arrest people. And I feel like, and I'm sure other people feel like, if I call and say, hey, this guy just stole stuff from my yard, or I literally just watched them deal drugs, they feel like sometimes there should be more action taken. And I don't know all the rules, so in those situations I described, maybe they can't arrest them, but they're just, the police, their hands are tied in some situations. So then they don't call anymore, because they feel like, man, it fell on deaf ears. It's not. We are keeping track of it, and sometimes our actions, we can take certain actions down the road because of how many complaints have been filed. So keep going, even if you just go online and file that, that's great. We appreciate it, and it's not falling on deaf ears. It does make a difference.
Thanks, Councilwoman Mandy Simons, our guest here for an update on Elko Live. The most recent council meeting was last week, and I think the final financial step was taken toward the water modernization plan.
Yeah, so this is great. For those that have not been following this, a while back, the water department had done some studies. We'd hired some people to do some studies and things, and we really, over the decades, when we've put in pipes or valves and various parts to the infrastructure, sometimes it hasn't been documented as well as we'd like. So we're not quite sure always where things are or what condition they're in. We'll have pipes just burst, and then we have an emergency situation. And of course, going around and digging up every piece of pipe, say, oh, there it is, and this is the condition, that's not really feasible. And so they've got really amazing technology now that they can use to do that we want to do. It also ties in, many of you have noticed a water rate increase. That's, of course, because we're changing how we bill. The cost for us has gone up, and so we want this to be a user fee, not a tax. So those who use water pay for the water service. And it got to the point where what it was costing us to provide the water exceeded what we were charging. And in those cases, we have to make rate increases. We don't love it, but this is part of life. And so part of that is that for a long time since we've moved here, some of us have been on flat rate, including myself, which is amazing. It really is amazing. I remember right after we moved here, they'd started saying, okay, any new homes that are built, we're going to put in meters, right? But we had an older home, so we're on flat rate. It's so nice. I'm loving it, right? But it's not really fair, because people, the other folks are basically subsidizing us. And really, if you have a very small house, and it's just you, and you have a very small lawn, you might be paying more on flat rate than you would otherwise. It's just not horribly fair. And so we're going to, over the next few years, try to get everybody on meters so that people are paying for what they use, because that is fair to everyone. And so we've got several plans with that have not quite been rolled out yet, but this is a first step in just kind of this big water department overhaul type situation. We want to find out what our infrastructure looks like, where we need to improve, what needs to be fixed. We want to try to get to a point where maybe we can catch some things before they happen. We also want to get everybody on meters. We want to make it efficient, also by doing these studies where we go and see what our pipes look like. and where water's flowing, where it's not flowing, that can decrease your cost because we can make things more efficient. So I'm sure that was very convoluted to everybody listening, but just know that there are changes going on within the water system. We've already instituted a rate hike, so you will have noticed that. You will, at some point, notice that more people are getting meters in, and you might notice people kind of working around town. And they explained the system that they used to really figure this out. And I couldn't regurgitate that information to you, but it's they've got just this high-tech stuff that makes it much easier to figure out what we're looking at under the ground. And so they're going to be doing that. And changes are coming. And at the end of the day, you look 3-5 years down the road, it's going to be amazing. We're just going to I'm not going to say state of the art, but our whole water system is going to be in a much better situation. And people will be paying their fair share, which is important.
Yep, this process will be phased in beginning in 2025 from what we've been hearing, Mandy.
Yep, exactly. And it will be in phases. We're not going to demand that everybody goes and puts in it right now. We are looking at different programs to help people with the cost and what can the city do and what do we need the homeowners to do. I will say that we went to the state because the state actually has a fund, kind of a state revolving fund for water projects. And so we went to the Nevada State Board for Financing Water Projects. This board exists, and we went and we talked to them, and they can actually get loans for these kind of projects at a very good rate. It's 1%. So they are kind of going to go out and they'll basically buy this bond for us. At 1%, it's $12,650,000, and is the max that we can do. And that will be at 1%. Plus, there'll be an amount of $1.5 million that can basically be forgiven.
Which is fantastic. Yeah.
It's 1% for 20 years. Sorry, I was trying to find the exact length of time. It's 1% for 20 years. Let me see. Let me just read this to clarify my jumbled thoughts. So the state will basically get a bond in the amount of $12,650,000 at a 1% interest rate for 20 years, and 1.5 additional funding with the principal forgiveness, which will mean a total amount of $14,150,000. And then, so we voted to go ahead and go forward and get those water revenue bonds. And that's going to help us with these big projects. So that's huge because you don't pay 1% on these bonds. You don't pay 1% on these loans. It's a very good program. When we have to actually start paying is when we've actually used it. We draw it when we need it. It's just like if you're going to get a loan to do a big city project, this is a dream. You know, outside of maybe free money, which there's really no such thing. Even grants often have strings. This is pretty amazing, and it's going to enable us to do a lot of great things. I should also mention that there's been talk of the state that at some point, we live in a desert, so at some point the state will probably require everybody to be on a meter anyway. This was not something we just thought, even though it does make it more fair, we will at some point probably be required to do this anyway. So we're just trying to get ahead of the game before the state came in and said you have to do it right now. So it's a big deal. It is going to have some money we have to pay back, but the city, ever since I got on, there really has been in a pretty great financial situation. As far as the people that are running the finance department, the city manager, they're all very savvy to how things work, and they make sure that we are in a great position to pay back these payments, that we have kind of a rainy day fund, that we've put aside money in case, so that we can always pay our bills. And so when we go out for these bonds, please know that we have taken great care to make sure that this is within our means. And so we're going to go ahead, we're going to get that loan, we're going to get some stuff done. We'll be able to pay that back. It's not it is 1%, but that we can handle. And we're super grateful that that went through. It was awesome.
And it's always nice to acknowledge the work of people. It wasn't that long ago, but I remember when Lee Hoffman was a councilman and, he talked about the significance of water and sewer. And we established these enterprise funds. So just like you're talking about, the users pay for the, concession, I guess, if you will, the infrastructure, the utilities, developers pay their share, people who've lived here pay their share.
Yeah, it's great.
It's an investment.
It is an investment, and we want everybody to have clean water, obviously. And so it's something worth keeping an eye on and keeping up on, and that's where we're at with that. And it's going to be great. I will not be on the council at the end of this kind of phase project, but I know that it's going to make a huge difference.
Maybe we can come to your house and do a ribbon cutting for your new meter.
That would be amazing.
Yes.
We'll put on a party.
That's
our
right.
our finest outfits and everything for the meter cutting. Yeah. At some point we're going to have to go on a meter too. And
me too.
Yeah,
I live in
exactly.
an older home.
That's true. And so it will be an inconvenience to those people. Do I want to have people come and put all that in? Well, it's not like something I planned on, but it's going to be great. And we're all going to do it together. And it's just kind of life.
It's progress. And it will, as you talked about, some of that underground technology they're going to be using will help us detect leaks because there's a lot of water being wasted, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah. My husband used to go out on a walk every morning, quite an extensive walk of Elko. Mm-hmm. And it was fairly consistent that he would come home and say, call the emergency number. I wrote down where the water leak is. There's water bubbling up on the road. And so that's not what we want. But at the same time, we're not in a position to go through and figure out which pipes are in the best, what year were they put in, what's the condition. And so that's what we're doing now, and it's going to be amazing.
Yep, that's why it's called the Water Modernization Plan. So in good hands with our Public Utilities Department and working on that. Thank you for the update, Mandy, because again, we're going to keep reminding people that this is all for the good and we're all in it together.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly, right. Yeah. Those of you that bought houses with meters and have been complaining that, why do I have to pay? And now you're the ones sitting pretty, and we're the ones that are going to have to kind of step up to the plate.
Yep, so we will take care of it. And let's see, if we went off topic, I don't know if there's anything else on the agenda you want to make sure.
That's a great question. We did kind of go off topic. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention. First of all, we did do a reading of a proclamation in recognition of Fire Prevention Week, which is October 6th to the 12th coming up. But this Thursday at the main firehouse there on Main and
911 West Idaho.
Oh, well, look at you, 911 West Idaho. Look at you go. Yes, sorry, not Main, Idaho.
Yeah.
Y'all know where the fire department is, but especially you, Lori, apparently 911 West Idaho. Good job. So yeah, on that corner, if you go there this Thursday from 5 to 7, there's kind of a fire prevention night open house. There's going to be food trucks and activities. You can bring the whole family down. It's an amazing thing. We've got a school carnival that night, so I don't even get to go, but it's going to be so fun. We have been to these kind of activities before, and it's so fun. If you have little kids and you're like, hey, I wonder how I talk to them about,
stop, drop, and roll.
Stop, drop, and roll, or touch the doorknob to make sure it's hard. These guys over there are amazing at dealing with kids. They go to the schools often. They know how to explain things. They're all over the education. And so if your family's looking for something to do, Thursday night, that would be a great activity. We encourage everybody to go over and take advantage of that. I also wanted to say, we didn't really talk about this during the meeting because it was in the consent agenda, but we have 4 vacant positions on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. If anybody is interested in that, I believe you can call and find out, hey, when do they typically meet? What all is involved? It's just a volunteer position. You really vet things before they come to the city council. You, as a board, make recommendations to the city council. And again, 4 vacant positions. All you have to do is really send an email to the city saying, hey, this is my name, this is my background, this is why I'd like to be there. A paragraph or 2, that's all we need. And then they bring all of those interest letters to the city council, and we will soon be appointing 4 people to Parks and Rec Board.
That is an amazing opportunity. You really oversee some of the city's best amenities, not just those vast parks, but, the cemeteries in there, the city swimming pool, it'll be interesting because now it'll be under Boys and Girls Clubs management.
Right.
But there's going to be a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, interesting. That dog park really started in Parks and Rec and came up through them. And it has been, every time I drive by, there's dogs over there. And so it's great. And they do fun things. And if you are at all interested, that would be a great activity for you to get involved, a great way for you to just help steer the city in a little way.
The urban fisheries being developed.
That's right. And that's going to be the coolest thing. That's going to be the coolest thing. A place where you can just go stop by after work for an hour or two. You don't have to take a big trip or whatever. And that's going to take several years, but having a fishery right in town, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. So yeah, if you are interested in being on this board, please just send a letter over to the city. Really, you could send it to the city manager or James Wiley over at Parks and Rec. Whoever's email you have, I'm sure will get it to where they go. And if you look online, it will tell you, it will give you an idea of where you are supposed to send it, because I honestly don't know what address they have on there, but give you a point contact to where you can send that. Again, a paragraph or two about yourself. We would love to have your involvement.
And 4 positions. We don't know if some of the folks are considering
returning, right?
Which is fine, but that's a lot of opportunity right there.
It is a lot of opportunity to have 4 open. So we are grateful for that. And I'm trying to see if there was anything super exciting that we have missed.
It jumped out on that agenda. I know I watched online and it was just like I said, it was sort of over before it was. Because it was a quick meeting. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, we will really quickly. Vitality Unlimited came by to share with us that they are having an open house for their women's residents. That's October 10th. From 2 to 4, that's 1342 Southside Drive in Elko. And the city helped through some COVID funds. So this is one of the projects we participated in. And so if that is something that you are interested in, they would love to have you come and look at this new facility.
It's a transition housing for women, right?
It's going to be amazing, an amazing asset. Also, real quick,
take your time.
You reminded me. I don't know how much, I don't know how much more time we have, but
we have plenty of time.
We're good. Okay.
This says 5. We have about 5 minutes.
Okay,
you're great.
Good. Okay. Yes. Also, the Arts and Culture Advisory Board is another kind of volunteer board, and we just appointed a couple people. But we have a meeting tomorrow at 4:30, and not tons going on, but there are a couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, we're going to looking at having our annual Mayor Arts Awards. We're going to talk about what date and all those things. Just be thinking, if there are artists in the community that you really admire or you think are just a huge part of our culture here, there will be opportunities for you to nominate them. There's several categories and you'll be able to nominate them. So if you really feel passionate about that kind of thing, just keep your eyes open, your ears open, so that you have an opportunity to nominate them for some recognition. This is something that we try to do about once a year, and it's just the opportunity for the mayor to say thank you for those who really make an effort to beautify our community and add culture to our community. It could be in, performing arts, visual arts, all different kinds of people that we have really acknowledged in the past. And so I wanted to let people know that that's coming up, as well as you have probably heard a little bit in the past that we discussed for a while, making a We the People sign on Hondo Hill.
I think overlooking Bullion Road.
Yeah, and it was going to be very, very tall letters that read We the People. Like
the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, that's the analogy we use. Kind of think of the Hollywood sign, something similar to that, because we are coming up on the sesquicentennial for the United States, and we thought about doing a project. The board is now reevaluating that and trying to decide, is that something that we can accomplish? Did we bite off more than we can chew? Or we're going to do this. We're going to have the community support us. We're really going to push forward on this. And that will be discussed tomorrow. So just if you feel passionately one way or the other, know that will be discussed. And if you have feelings, please feel free to come to the meeting and let us know. You can also email anybody on the council or send an email to the city. They'll get it to us. If you'd like your comment to be read into the record, we can certainly do that. And those are kind of two of the big things that will be on that meeting. But I did want everybody to know what's happening so that, art's not everybody's thing. I get it. These projects maybe don't touch the hearts of everyone, but it is, for a lot of people, that's their love in life. And so we just want to give them some opportunity to be heard and get involved.
That's nice. You can compare it. Think about some of the early projects of Arts and Culture Advisory would be those, huge decorative cowboy boots around.
That was a hugely successful project. When I was running the very first time is when they did the 9/11. They got a little piece of that.
The I-bar, I think it's
I-bar.
called?
I was going to call it rebar, and I knew that wasn't right. Yeah. And we built that really cool with the doves flying up, and it was amazing. And I remember vividly bringing my children down to watch that dedication. Of course, they did the cool sagebrush on the corner of the main city park, and then these boots. That was all private investment. The city just really facilitated it, and we have all these really cool boots laying around. They've been involved with the murals as well, so they've done a lot of cool things, and it's probably the funnest board I'm on, really, if I'm being honest.
Well, and hopefully, you can come back on as a citizen, too, when you're off the council, to be honest.
They probably have had quite enough of me, but maybe not. Maybe, yeah. I love the art in our town. I think it's an amazing thing. I know John Patrick Rice used to insist that it was as important as water and sewer, and I have never, ever gone that far. I would rather have water and sewer, but I am so grateful that we're in a position where we can have it all, because it does make a difference in the community. And I love seeing the murals, and I love hearing about all the plays going on and these cool projects the city can help facilitate. So that is tomorrow at 4:30, and we would love to have anybody just come and listen or speak up.
Awesome. Thank you, Mandy, so much. You're so right. This committee or this advisory board really, I think, inspired arts and culture everywhere, and at least a lot more communication and visibility for it. There's going to be some more art downtown Elko in the corridor. So this is a project that I think Arts and Culture is working on. And then there's going to be some more mural work, I think, done next week, October 10th through the 13th.
Yeah, just so much is being done. It's hard to keep up on everything, and so we appreciate that. I think we have 1 or 2 more minutes. I will, just because I see it on your desk. Your ballots have been mailed out. Mm-hmm. So be sure to, if you want to wait and vote in person, that's amazing. We love it. If for some reason you prefer to mail yours in, or you're in a position where you just can't make it that day, those have gone out. So please, I just encourage everybody to, if you don't know about a candidate, ask around. Maybe they have a website, do something. We have 2 seats on the city council open, and 3, you get to vote for 2. So you'll see 3 names listed, and you can vote for 2. 1 to take my spot, and then Claire is running again, so he's on the ballot. But yeah, and we just appreciate if everybody can take the time to fill that out and get that in. This is how it all works. This is the basis for everything. It is.
It is the basis for everything, and it's exciting and thrilling. And I know for some people it's emotional, but it's just such a privilege to participate in this. And I just opened up mine because I brought I'll be carrying around my ballot because I always look at it, and
Yeah, and you think about it before you fill everything out. Sure,
yes,
yeah. And this will be my daughter's first chance to vote for president, and so it's kind of exciting to see her participate. I know it almost does make you want to cry, right?
Yeah, because Olivia did the same.
Yeah,
I remember
it's
that.
just this kind of amazing right that we have. So I just hope everybody looks at that. Make sure you got it. If you didn't get one, you can always call the county clerk, and just do a little research. You don't have to be an expert on every candidate, but it kind of pays to say, okay, what do I know? What can I know? And make sure you get those in on time. That's really all I have, but maybe you've remembered something else.
I was just going to mention, along those lines, the Chamber of Commerce is hosting 2 candidate forums, October 9th and the 16th, and so they'll be hosting everybody that's running for local office, and it will be at the Elko, I want to say, Convention Center, I think is where those are, so we'll be talking more about that. Meet and greets at 5:30 each evening with the candidate forum starting at 6. Now, they're not debates, so it's a chance for the community to participate. If you have a question you want to have answered, that can be answered by all the candidates, at least in a particular race. You can reach out to Billy Crapo, Chamber CEO, at ceo@elkonevada.com, and they're putting those questions together now. So
it's really your best chance if you just want to take a couple nights to really get to know candidates. Those are your best chance. Of course, you see coverage of the presidential candidates nonstop. You can't avoid it, right? But sometimes it's hard to know about other races. So those are great nights to show up. If you're just clueless or you've only heard about one candidate and don't know about the other races, go ahead, show up. They don't have them at each other's throat. They just say, hey, here's a question. I'm going to let everybody have the same opportunity to answer it. It's really, really nice to get a feel for people.
Well, thank you, Mandy. Mandy Simons is our Elko City Councilwoman, Vice Mayor. Her degree in particular was in political science, correct?
That is true, yes.
So maybe when you finish up this part of your public life, you can become an adjunct professor at GBC.
I actually did that for one semester with my husband, and it was the funnest.
It's
great.
Be fantastic at that.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Thank you. Well, look at you just planning my career. I love it. I
so
thought I was just going to sit at home and catch up on TV, but no.
Apparently not.
All right. Well, good for you.
Thank you, Mandy,
Thank you
so much. Well, I just hope you know how much we appreciate you. So, and it's a lot of work.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you very much.
And your husband have raised beautiful children while doing it all. So thank you. Thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today. We appreciate it.